So I went to Costco. It wasn't too bad. They had a line, of course, but it wasn't terrible. And we got in there in about 10 minutes, and they staggered the line so they'd let in a few people. So it wasn't like a big mad rush, and they had a lot of employees like directing people, and it was really good. I was able to get what I needed. I just needed hamburger meat. That was my number one thing. I wanted eggs too, but they didn't have those. And I got some butter so I can make ghee. If I have fat meat, if I have meat and fat, I'm okay. I really like to have meat and fat and eggs, but I can live on fat and meat solely, and I'm totally fine. I mean, I've been doing it for the last 4 or 5 months just on that alone. Um, anyway, so it just kind of brings home the point of this idea of self-sufficiency. And there's a couple kinds of self-sufficiency I was going to talk about. One is the, ability to feed yourself and, in times like this, be able to take care of yourself. And of course, there's different levels of self-sufficiency. I mean, if you're out of debt and you have money saved and you're looking pretty smart right now. I mean, with if you work in the service industry or a lot of industries are going to be impacted by this, people that'll be, probably losing jobs over this if they're not already losing jobs. And so, I mean, and I've always done that. My family, we've always had at least at least 6 months of emergency fund, but really, I've usually had more like a year or even 2 years worth of emergency fund. I've just always kind of been a saver like that. And so I have that, but I don't have, chicken eggs. I don't have chickens laying eggs, fresh eggs every day. I don't have meat that I could butcher. I don't have animals that I could, live off of. So, I mean, that makes you feel a little vulnerable when you're standing there at the store and thinking, if it wasn't for these people at the store and the trucks supplying the food, I mean, I wouldn't have anything to eat. I'd literally be out here behind my house with my, pellet gun trying to shoot squirrels or something, I guess. I mean, really, that's what it would come down to is you just have to go out on hunting expeditions and like they did in the old days. And we take it for granted, and I think um, it's a good wake up call. For me personally, I just my lifestyle the way it is right now, it would be very difficult for me to move out and become self sufficient and all that. It's just not the right timing. I've got teenage daughters that I'm trying to get raised, and my wife works. It would be difficult on us. I can't physically do all the work myself. I'm a worker. I'm a hard worker, but there's a limit to how much you can do by yourself. You've got to have a team effort, and I don't really have the crew for that, I guess you could say. Anyway, and then there's self-sufficiency, the big self, and that's where you start to, become more clear in your connection to the divine, to God, and I do believe the heartfulness path is a great way to clean and move into that. I can see it in my daily practice. I mean, definitely becoming more clear, and my experience in meditation is changing, becoming more expanded, and uh, I guess more experiencing more of what you would call the soul or, your higher self. They talk about the self and becoming more acquainted with that part of myself. And it's really awesome, right? I mean, it's like the great frontier, and yogis and mystics and spiritual people for thousands of years have been working on developing a closer connection to that. And to be able to do that while you're living and working and serving, and it's just really a special thing. And I think we're blessed to have that opportunity in this lifetime, regardless of what happens in terms of, I mean, all of what we have happening right now is, I really think we're just having a reset in terms of, you know, um, people have been very wasteful. People have been very indulgent. We live in a very narcissistic, indulgent society. It's been cultured. It's been cultivated by the media, entertainment industry, the powers that be. They've they've pushed this because it causes division, disharmony. When you have a bunch of narcissists living together, it creates a very large disharmony, and it's the opposite of what we really want, right? So, we want people that are loving and kind and considerate and empathetic and able to uh, put aside their differences and able to step outside themselves and um, make things happen. Cooperation versus competition. And our system has pushed competition so hard, and you can see where that's a problem right now, right? I mean, if we all are competing for resources, you're going to have people that lose out. They shouldn't. The elderly, for example. I mean, they just can't stand in these lines. They can't jostle for things. They're just too weak. They really shouldn't even be out right now, honestly. I mean, we honestly should be serving the elderly right now and taking food to them and things like that. And um, I don't know. That's to me. I see those kind of things now. I never would have seen that before, but I think as my heart expands, I become more aware of the needs of other people and find ways that to serve. And I don't know. I'm not saying I'm a selfish person. I'm not going to say that I'm some kind of saint or anything, but you definitely can see where it would lead if we had people serving each other more and helping each other and being more cooperative versus competitive. You can see where that would lead, right? It'd just be a really awesome world to live in, really loving and peaceful place to live in. And the people that don't live to those standards, you know those people they have to be pushed out. They have to be pushed away. They have to learn their lesson. And so I think it's an opportunity, a huge opportunity to refocus, retool, and sharpen the sword. I went through a real tough time in my life. It was about 2007, 2008. Um, had a lot of personal issues going on. Had to change jobs. Had to start working night shift, and I was really, really miserable. And there was a show on. It was funny. I had to move from the hospital I was at, and I moved to another hospital, and I was working night shift. So I had to go back to night shift, which I don't know if any of you work night shift. It's hard.